ballin'. I never need to worry then, always had the upper hand. They never gonna understand the food inside the plastic bag. Money in my bank account, filling up my mama's. Well, get my wife a mean shoe, pay up all the groceries, exactly what that grace do. Whoa, I don't got the time to doubt.
Good morning. Today we start with lesson 19 and we will look at 3.2 in the syllabus. 3.2 is about the market forces. We will first look at the demand, then the supply, and in the next lesson we will also look at the equilibrium price. Okay, for today's lesson, the first that you must be able to answer is what is demand? Give a definition of demand. Now this can be asked for 3 marks. They say a demand for a good and service is the amount of good and service that you are willing and able to buy at a given time and at a given price. Only then it becomes part of demand. Okay, so if you look at this demand curve, they will also require from you that you know how to draw this curve. And you must always remember that you have a heading, that you have price and zero and quantity demand. The demand curve, if they ask you what is a demand or what is the shape of the demand curve, it is sloping downwards from the left to the right. Okay, and then I can also, from looking at this graph, I can tell you the rules for demand. And the rules for demand you can pick up from this. So if I tell you the price was at P1, if you look at P1 and it touched the demand curve, the quantity of products that will be demand at that price is only Q1. But if the price increased to P2, then you say the quantity demand for that product at that higher price is Q2. So what did you see? And that is the law of demand. If the price increase, the quantity demand decrease. And this is also, the opposite is also true. So if the price decrease, the quantity demand is increasing. And that is a law for demand. Okay, so very important for you to realize also, if you look at the definition and you talk about demand, you must clearly understand there is a difference between a want and a need. And something that you want is not part of demand. It only becomes demand if the good and service that you are interested in, if you are willing and able to pay for it at a specific price and a specific time. Only then it is demand. We want lots of things, but we can't afford everything, and until we can afford it, it is only then it becomes part of demand. And now the next point, I will indicate to you on the PowerPoint how the demand curve will move. If I tell you the demand for water have increased. If a demand increase for a certain product, then the demand curve will move to the right, as you will see on the PowerPoint. if the demand decreases for a product, say for example they tell you you can't use any diet cool drinks anymore because in the diet cool drinks there's something that is not good for your health. So in a case like that, the demand for, say, Diet Coke will decrease, or any diet product. And to indicate such a decrease in demand, you will see on the next graph that the demand curve will move to the left. So an increase is a movement to the right of the demand curve, and a decrease is a movement to the left. Okay, now, very important is that I can ask you what influenced the demand for a product. So firstly, you will say the price, obviously. If the product is more expensive, the demand will decrease. We are not interested because we can't afford it. And next point that will influence the demand for a product is your income. So if your income increases, you can afford on demand more products. Then there's other influences like the fashion. So say for example it is fashion that we don't eat meat, and they have a reason why they tell us not to eat meat. It has a positive influence on the environment or so forth. Then the demand for meat will decrease. So you see that fashion, where it comes to it, some people will say, no, it's not a fashion, it's a new trend. People are doing this because that is how they want to protect our environment. If you look more at a certain type of material and they say, no, we don't want you to use cotton products anymore because cotton fields, they make use of children to work in cotton fields. So you see that, then you will not react to that type of fashion. And it will decrease that type of, the demand for that type of products. Then if we look at products which is habit forming, like alcohol or cigarettes, that can influence and change the demand for that products. Okay, then we all know, we haven't touched advertising and discussed it in depth, but advertising, you know, that's why we actually advertise, to increase the demand for our products. So advertising can influence the demand for our products. And then we also have here, as you can see on the board, credit facilities. So if a business always have sell their products for cash and they decide now to also offer credit facilities, then some people will be more interested and there will be a higher demand for their products. Or there's credit facilities that change where it comes to cars, and they say because we are going through a very difficult economic time, we will decrease the deposits on cars. And we will give you, say, 1 month that you don't, your first month that you don't have to pay an installment. So look at that. You see they have changed the credit facilities when buying cars. Okay, and then obviously if our population increase or the structure of our population change, then the demand will change. So you have perhaps heard the story, or it's not a story, it's a fact. You have heard that in the Scandinavian countries, the biggest part of the population is old people. So in a country like that, they will obviously demand products that older people use. They will use wheelchairs and they will use lots of medicine and clothes and shoes that old people wear. In South Africa and Namibia, the biggest part of our population is younger than 25 years old or younger than 16 years old in South Africa. And in that case, they demand a certain type of product. they demand certain schoolwear, they demand certain clothes, and that will influence the demand for specific products. The last 2 points is substitute goods. Now, firstly, you must know what a substitute good is. A substitute good is a good that can replace another good. So you can use it instead of the good that you have normally used. So say, for example, you have normally used margarine, and now you read information that margarine is not healthy. So you replace it for another product that you can use for the same purpose, like butter. So the one substitute the other one. And then you can say, but because of this article and because of this research, the demand for margarine decreased and the demand for butter increased. Now we look at the last point, and that is complementary products. Now that means the one product must be used with the other one. You can't use the one without the other one. So if you have batteries and you have a torch, the torch it's not possible for you to use a torch if you don't buy batteries and put it into the torch. So in a case like that, or for your car has fuel, and you can't use the car without the fuel. So that fuel and the car are complementary products. So if the price of fuel increases, you will use your car less, or you will buy less cars and rather make use of public transport or taxis or so forth. Okay, you will see on the next slide that I give you a classwork question. And there's 2 questions. The one is about the top or the paragraph say, after research done by Harvard University, an announcement was made that everybody must eat 70% of dark chocolate every day to prevent Alzheimer's. So the question is, show the effect on the demand curve for 70% dark chocolate and explain your answer. Now you must use the previous information where we show you the change in the demand curve and then show how this demand curve will change and explain it. In a question like this, you see it counts 6 marks. 3 will go to 3 or 4 to the graph that you draw, and 2 marks to your explanation. Then the second question, they ask you to define an inferior good and a normal good and a luxury good. It's very important for you, if you work with demand and supply, that you understand the meaning of what a luxury good is. So if you give a definition of an inferior and a luxury and a normal good, please put examples that is according to you an inferior good and according to you a luxury good. You will also pick up that what is luxury to me and luxury to somebody else may be different, and it depends on our income. Now we start with supply. We will first look at the definition of supply. Supply of a good or a service is the amount the supplier are willing to put on the market at a given time and at a particular price. So only when you have all that willing at a particular time and a particular price, then it can be seen as supply. Okay, we look at the shape of the supply curve. It's moving upwards from the left to the right. And then we can also look at the rules of the supply curve. You can see if the price increases, what will happen then is that the quantity supply will also increase. If the price decreases, the opposite is true. the quantity supply decrease. Why is that the case? Because if you are a farmer and you supply, for example, cucumbers or cabbage, and the price increase on the market, you will react quickly and try to supply more, that you can benefit from this higher prices. If the prices, say for example, you plant sweet potatoes or pumpkin and the prices have dropped, then you try to store your sweet potatoes and pumpkins in a cool place that it lasts longer and that you can wait until the price gets better again. So you are not supplying, or you try not to supply when the price is low. But when the price is high, you try to supply more. Okay, now we look at what causes a change in supply. Firstly, if the raw materials that you use to supply your product have increased by a lot, the price of that raw material. Now you can't get hold of them and you must import them from another country, and that increased the price of your raw materials. So perhaps because of that you will say, but I can't supply as much as in the past because it is now too expensive for me, or more expensive for me. Then if taxes is added to a price of a product, you will also say, but due to the VAT that they put on this product, I will use now less of this product. In the case of alcohol, they put tax to it, which they call sin tax, and that tax, they hope, will prevent then the consumer to demand a certain product. But we talk about taxes. So if they put taxes on alcohol and you supply alcohol, then you will supply less alcohol because you know that people can't afford the same amount. And very important, before I continue, it's important for you to realize that people will, or firms will only supply what is demanded. So you will not supply a product which nobody demands. That is very important to realize that. So that's why I can say, if a product has tax on it and it costs more, I know how the consumer will demand less of that product, and I know then that I don't have to supply so much. And in the case of subsidy, a subsidy is what you get from the government. It decreases, the government covering part of your cost, so you can decrease the price of the products. And in that case, people will demand more, so you as the supplier will supply more. We also look at the weather. The weather can influence that we don't supply as much, or we can't supply as much as we have supplied in the past. Then there is new discoveries of new minerals or new products that can cause that we don't use the other product anymore, and that the consumer don't demand the other product, but they now demand the new product, the new discovery that is more environmental friendly, for example, like solar power. So in a case like that, because of the new discoveries, the supplier of the old form of electricity, which was produced by coal, that supply will decrease because people demand more clean form of electricity. Then the time period involved. So for example, if you plant carrots, it will take you 3 months before it is ready and you can put it on the market. So time will influence also if you can supply a product or not. But time is not the only influence for a farmer. If you have some of that carrots in a cold storage room, then you can first supply that. And if you have nothing then else, you will wait until the others is ready. So the supply can also be influenced by the capacity that you have in a storeroom. Then technical progress can also influence the supply, that we are able to supply more of a product because we can produce it now much quicker due to the new technology that we use. Now these are a few points that can influence that we supply more or less. But very important, remember, we will only supply what is demanded. Okay, now you can see on the PowerPoint, I again show you how the supply curve moves. If the supply for a product increases, the supply curve will move to the right. And if the supply decreases for a product, then the curve will move to the left. We will look at different examples where the curve increase, supply increase, and where supply decrease, that you can see the effect of that. Okay, the next is a classwork question. They says show and explain the effect on the supply of cocoa in the world market after Brazil announced that there was an outbreak of a disease in their cocoa plantations, which caused that they can't support cocoa for this year. So you see, because of this disease, there was a decrease in the supply. How do you indicate a decrease in the supply? You must show that, and then you must also explain what happened and what is the causes of that.
Do you have a good claims history with a previous insurance history of at least 2 years? Are you a single financially independent woman or over the age of 55 but not a pensioner yet? Are you a professional? If yes, SMS cover to 555 and we will call you back to get you insured for less.
We always love to hear from you. Send us your views, comments, and videos with your name and town to the One Africa TV's WhatsApp on 081 200 6659 or send an SMS to 555. One Africa TV, it just gets better.
Step by step, This is how we roll. Whenever we ever join, I'll go my best last for cause sequari for God.
I'll trust in music, whenever use it, pump it up, abuse it. Doesn't matter where, what time, go crazy, lose it. Chester.
Share with us on #LearnOn1. Tell us what you're learning and where you're learning it from. Send us your name and town to the One Africa TV's WhatsApp on 081 200 6659 or send an SMS to 555. One Africa TV. It just gets better.